Hey friends, welcome back to Channel Surf. If this is your first time here, I'm Jazz and I watch a shit ton of TV. And I also like to read a shit ton of books. And today is a very special day because I have someone here who's returning to Channel Surf, but they are here to talk about a book that they wrote about TV, which is like one of my favorite combinations. So without further ado, you know him as the Vanderpump Rules expert. And now he can say he literally wrote the book on it. Please welcome back Vanderpump Robs. Hello, my friend and
Hello.
author.
Hi. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Wow, you're getting way too fancy, Rob. I don't know. Like, am I worthy to still be friends with such a fancy person?
First of all, yes, because I only wrote half the book. Let's really put it out there. My co-host Kate wrote a lot of it too. Kate's the smart one. I'm the podcaster. We'll put you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
Hi, Kate. Thing though, I'm so proud of you guys. I know I already told you this offline,
I-
but so happy for this book because I feel like it marries two very important things to me, which is like reading and reality TV. And it's
yes.
about one of the greatest shows to ever grace our TV screens.
The one that set a precedent for a lot of things on Bravo and American culture. I know that sounds like very highfalutin, but like as Kate and I were writing this book, reality TV is the devil, and don't you forget it, the unofficial Vanderpump Rules story. Um, we were like, wow, a lot of stuff that happened over the 11 seasons really ripple affected a lot of things in pop culture and just the people who watch the show and are on this show went through a lot in
Yeah.
this time period. Like culture shifted significantly when we got to watch it happen, not only through Stassi and Tom Sandoval and the rest, but through its fandom, right? You can chart a line of how people interacted with the show in 2012 versus how they interacted with the show in 2023.
It has seen so many different lives, if you
Mhm.
will, because it came at a really interesting time. Back in 2012, like, Instagram was out, Twitter was out, like, we were using social media, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as synonymous with, like, television watching
Yes.
and you know what I mean? Like, recapping
Mhm.
as it is now, and I guess through the context of that, this book, Reality TV is the Devil, and Don't You Forget It. Do you think that this book could exist if the second layer of this show didn't? And the second layer, I mean, by that I mean social media, Reddit, Twitter. Would you have been inspired to write this book without that second layer?
No, I don't think I could. I think that became such a big part of the book.
Yeah.
And like most creative endeavors, you set out to do one thing and it mutates into something totally different. Like we wanted to do like an oral history of Vanderpump
Right.
Rules. We were like, "Oh, maybe some ex-cast members will talk to us, maybe some production will talk to us. I know that we can get content creators to talk to us because they'll talk to anyone. I mean, I'm guilty. I'm doing it right
Same.
now. And that's not a slight. That's just like how it works.
Mhm.
And then we did take a meeting with NBC because at the early stages we were like, look, we'll write the Bravo. We didn't say this outright, but like in our heads, we're like, we'll write the Bravo propaganda, right? Like if that's what it's gonna be, and we have fun talking about this show, if there are guardrails we have to do, it'd be much easier to work with you if you want to do this. And
Mhm.
they weren't interested.
Okay.
And we go a little bit more in depth into that right at the beginning of the book. So, folks, I just don't want to give away too much. But as we started developing and getting interviews with people who could speak on the record about stuff, we started realizing how we wanted to tell the story. And a lot of that was going into social media posts and like I said before, charting that line. And
Mhm.
I remember immediately something that clicked with me. And I called Kate immediately because we had a very unique style of writing this book, which I can talk about in a minute. But I was like, Kate, I think something is locked in for me and I am in like my fingers are flying on my keyboard right now. The first episode of season 3 of Vanderpump Rules is called Insta Fight. And not only does it set up Kristen communicating with the Miami girl and that, oh, these people are talking to other people. You're not using Instagram just to take pictures of your dinner, you're
Mhm.
like communicating with folks you don't have a phone number of.
Mhm.
Okay, that's interesting. And then also on that episode, it was when we still had like chronological timelines, and one group is taking pictures at a party and another group is taking pictures at their party trying to show that they have more fun than each other. And that's when they're showing the screenshots of their Instagram profiles, we see Stassi's handle, we see Christina Kelly's handle, we see Peter's handle, and the audience can then go, oh, I can follow Stassi even when the show's not on, so the show
Right.
never ends.
Yeah.
And I called Kate and I was like, "This is it. The show never ends. If you are a fan of this, you can figure out what they're doing at all times, which is still curated, of course,
Mhm.
but we don't have to wait till next week or next season."
Yeah, and I think that is so smart, especially when you think about anybody who is talking about writing about reality TV, just TV and film in general
Mhm,
these days, the conversations are being had online on social media,
mhm.
right? That's where shows kind of go to live or die. You could have a show that a network or a streamer might not be promoting that much, but if the right people watch it and they start talking about it online, now it becomes a phenomenon. You know what I mean? Like there's this
Yes.
running joke that Apple doesn't promote their shows, but shows like Widow's Bay go viral because
Incredible.
yeah, and it's an amazing show, right? But so many people who are online all the time are watching it and loving it, and now they're telling
Mhm.
everybody else. And so it becomes like we kind of become the marketing campaign
Yeah.
for these networks and for these streamers. And so I think that's so smart. The other side of it too is social media. We are seeing in the last couple of years, we've seen in real time how social media has changed the way that reality TV stars show up. And I think Vanderpump Rules, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you guys touch on this. Actually, no, you said in the description how the cast became some of the first like influencers on reality TV. So like talk through that, like thinking about writing about that and them being the
Yeah.
first influencers and getting the first kind of brand deals for people on reality TV where we used to look down on them as
Yeah.
reality TV stars, and now they are brand ambassadors, and we saw it happen.
Well, it's of course, other people had brand deals,
Right.
right? Of course, people made a living off of Hydroxycut or whatever they wanted to promote
Trim
on
spa,
there.
baby.
Of course, yes. Talk about Jesse Lally and Trim
Yes.
Spa. But the millennialification of influencer
Mhm.
was forged in the fires of shows like Vanderpump Rules. And I think Vanderpump Rules really leaned into it because and it's hard to like put into a nice little soundbite, but everyone knows at a certain point in time their main job was being cast members and not being servers at the restaurant. But
Right.
they still showed up, they clocked in and made a good scaffolding for a show. But at that point, you don't really care what they do. So when they're also hawking wares or promoting a swimsuit or a local business or a mega conglomerate Amazon podcasting studio, whatever it might be, on their Instagram, it's kind of like, oh yeah, well they're popular, so they get to do this
Mhm.
because of how popular they are on TV. And at a certain point, that just changed to where that's the norm.
Yeah.
That's the job. We mentioned a little bit in there, and Kate loves to bring this up, and she just always blows my mind with her talking points, especially on the podcast. So, like, folks, if you can't wait for the book, the podcast is cool too. It's called Vanderpump Robs. They you look at Mormon wives, there is no pretense.
Mhm.
They are influencers. They happen to be wives and they happen to be Mormon, but they are influencers.
Mhm.
And we're going to watch what influencers do. And obviously, that show, huge success, lots of drama. We don't need to necessarily get into, but there's not this need for this extra scaffolding, but that wouldn't have worked, I don't think, without it being set up for people
Yeah.
through 2012 to 16 when it really started just becoming the norm, on shows like Vanderpump Rules.
I agree with you 100%. I also you just made me think of something. So, and this is not to go off on too much of a tangent because it still is relevant to VPR, but Mormon Wives, right? I do not think that that show is as good as people claim it to be. I think it's kind of fascinating to watch these people.
Mhm.
My knowledge of Mormons is not what we see with the Mormon Wives, right? So I think I was
Sure.
fascinated by it and the way that the show came about, obviously. Um, but I think that's why I can't get into the show because I know I'm watching people almost be fake and curated all the time
Yeah.
because they are influencers. The thing with Vanderpump Rules and why that is, I think, such a huge phenomenon is what we kind of just touched on is we were able to watch them transition into like this new world. But when we meet them, they are all just like wannabe actors and actresses and performers, like working at a restaurant, like struggling like we all were
Yes.
kind of around
Yes.
that time in our lives. And so it is interesting to watch this new wave of reality TV where people are coming on and we know they're coming on because they want brand deals, they want to be influencers. So we're never really getting the true essence of these folks. And that's why I think a lot of the new reality TV stars, they just don't stick as much as the older ones do.
By the time Vanderpump Rules was in its heyday, Stassi Schroeder has, millions of
Right.
followers,
Yeah.
right? For good or ill. And you look at some of the cast on Southern Hospitality going into season 4, very popular Bravo show. I love it. They're still, breaking the hundreds of thousands,
Right.
maybe,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so also that culture or like that pipeline of TV to influencer is not the same and is not being responded to in the same way by audiences, which is which is why this 11 seasons of Vanderpump Rules is a very significant timeline too, because
Yeah.
not only did we see the rise of influencer culture started changing what it even was by the end of it. I mean, hell, we start with Obama as president, we end with a reality star as president, like
Dude, why did I just get goosebumps when you said that? Wait a minute.
I've practiced these talking points, I promise. No, but I mean, it
Seriously.
really is something that, like, as we're like putting this together, we're like,
Yeah.
oh my god. Now, there's always the sort of thing where you can back into a point you're trying to make, but a
Yeah.
lot of these things that we've been talking to weren't things that, like, I was like, "Wouldn't it be cool if we found out this? Now let me put the pieces together to get there." No, these were just,
Yeah.
like, thoughts that came up to us and, like, we were discovering because here's the other thing. 2 big major points with this book that are important to me to get out there. If you want the story of Vanderpump Rules, you can watch Vanderpump Rules,
Mhm.
right? We did not make a 2,000-page tome of absolutely everything that has happened. We charted a line of like significant things that happened from the first season through the 11th season
Mhm.
that tells a story based on fandom, based on these people's rise in popularity. You know, the things have to get cut, and we're actually sharing some of those in the coming months during pre-sale on stuff that was left on the cutting room floor over on our show. But that being said, I want people to not go in there being like, well, they didn't even talk about,
Right.
Stassi's birthday party and see,
Don't do that, guys.
yeah, but I understand. Yeah, please don't. But I understand if someone's like thinking the book is one thing and then
Mhm.
going in and having it not be that. The other thing that we are preparing for is that this is a story about a bunch of people who lie a lot. And it is significant to me to point out that finding the truth in all of these lies is almost impossible.
Yeah.
So I am sure that when this hits shelves or people get advanced copies, someone who related to the show is going to be like, "Oh, well, this just isn't true. I was there. They weren't there. How would they?" It's like, yeah, that's the point. Like
Right.
all of this is lies, but all of this still happened. Kristen may say something in season 2 and then someone says she's a liar and then a fan found a bunch of receipts proving Kristen correct or lying. And then 4 years later, they go on a podcast and go, oh, yeah, we made that whole thing up for the show. So who knows what is the truth? But what is true is what we put together on these pages is a damn fun read. I promise you that.
So, are we gonna have some big revelations after reading the book?
Look, easy answer. Absolutely.
Okay.
Longer answer, I think a lot of people are gonna have their own individual, like, come to Jesus moments being like, "Oh, I didn't know this domino effect of posting this certain thing on Reddit, or when we unveiled these old tweets from Britney or whatever, like, had this long lasting effect into today."
Mhm.
And that maybe it's not the healthiest thing in the world to be obsessed with drastically flawed normal human beings. Like they are not going to be perfect, but also even you don't need to put them on a pedestal one way or the other because
Right.
they're human beings.
They're just like us.
Yeah. And so with that, I think individually people are going to have their own like oh my
Yeah.
moments, but overall I think it's going to be I've been told by people who have been able to read it in advance that it's a real page turner.
I'm excited for it, and I don't think I've ever asked you this, like, speaking of, the obsession that people have with reality stars, what is it about VPR that you love so much? Because 'Cause you've been called the Vanderpump Rules expert.
I think that especially in the early season, like this is a cast that just is charismatic, right?
Mhm.
You love them, you hate them, they get your attention,
Yeah.
and they're fun to make fun of, they're fun to bond with. They are all of the things wrapped into one. For me personally, they're my age, and watching them go through everything I've gone through
Mhm.
is a significant time capsule that's important to me because I get to go, "Hey, thank God I didn't get filmed, but they did."
Yes.
and,
Yes.
I think it also reaches out to a bigger point where I'm a podcaster about Vanderpump Rules. I'm no better than anyone else who talks about this online at
Mhm.
all, and I think it's important to realize that I think a lot of us in the fandom who are really obsessed with this show are working through our own issues and projecting that onto people our same age in I've been cheated on.
Yeah. Everyone.
I've lied
Mhm.
to friends.
Mhm.
I've been the bad boyfriend, the good boyfriend, the business owner, the
Mhm.
musician. I've done all these things, and seeing it through a a terrarium, is easier to point out all the bad stuff.
It's a lot easier to judge other people even if you're judging them for the same shit that you have
Yes,
done, right?
exactly.
That is the beauty of watching reality TV, and I
Mhm.
always am so thankful for the people who choose to go on it, because like, you are showing things for us to judge you on that we have all done before.
Yes.
We have
Yes,
all
yes,
done.
yes.
Now, how did the book come about? I know you and Kate are gonna be answering this question a lot, but
Sure.
I would love for you to say it. How did you guys get to this point where you're releasing a book?
Well, first of all, Jazz, you're one of the first interviews, so you're getting one of the first times I get to say
L
this.
Love exclusivity. I love it.
Yes. Um, I had pitched a meeting to, like, my literary agent to potentially write Peter Madrigal's memoir with him, right? Like, I was like, "Peter's my friend." I don't really talk to Peter much anymore, and no bad blood or anything like that,
Mhm.
just lives go different ways,
Yeah.
uh and I was like, "Peter, I've met this literary agent. I think it would be really fun to do like a fun tongue-in-cheek sort of like memoirs from the manager, right? Like just something silly. It doesn't have to be too intense." And long story short, um, no one really wanted it. And it wasn't, it was just one of those things where I think the pitch ultimately wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then this agent came back and was like, "Hey, they don't really want to go with Peter, but they want to hear more ideas from you." And I had recently worked on producing Kate's audiobook for the novel she wrote before this. And Kate had guested on Vanderpump Robs a few times. And I was like, "Kate, do you want to like team up on this project? I think it would be more significant to at least have two writers from two different walks of life coming at this, two different types of fandom, two different points of view at least. You know, if we got six people writing this book, it would never get done. But
Right.
if at least it's just you and me, Kate and Rob hitting this thing, I think we can make something really fun. And she was like, let's do it. And we put together a proposal, went out, and luckily the same people who met with Peter and I were like, we love this idea. And he was off to the races.
I love that. Did
Yeah.
they say that this is something that audiences are looking for? I guess a better way to phrase that, do you think this now opens a pathway for other books like this, right? Like, we have other longstanding reality TV shows that are very significant to people. Could they also see their stories being written now?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I sure hope so,
Yeah.
because I think that we made a very unique style book about a show. Like I said, it's not just rehashing exactly what happened on the show, but there's so much in fan culture
Yeah.
that is unique to shows, right? The If I were to write a book about Survivor, it wouldn't be Rob from Rob Has a Podcast's book about Survivor,
Mhm.
right? Like, I would have my own angle on this, and I think that that's what makes it fun. Like, if someone else writes a book about Vanderpump Rules, it's not gonna be the book Kate and I wrote,
Right.
like, and that's the joy of being able to find a certain angle to talk about a show.
Yes.
If you wrote a book about what's your favorite Bravo show, would you say?
Oh.
All right, sorry, I put her on the
My
spot there.
favorite my favorite, NBC Universal show is The
Okay, how
Traitors.
about The
The Traitors,
Traders? If
yes,
you wrote The Traders book and I wrote The Traders book, I think we would have completely different stories and everyone would wanna read both of them, you
right.
know?
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
I hope that this opens the door for more opportunities, especially for new writers. This is my first book,
That's amazing.
and I'm already I've got ideas for another 2, and I hope that I don't know, I don't wanna sound too, like, silly, but I hope it inspires people to put pen to paper about the things they love.
That's not silly at all. I think people should be encouraged to tell stories in all different types of media,
Mhm.
right? I
Yeah.
love reading books, so obviously I want more books, especially about, like, come on.
Yeah.
I don't wanna say I thought it was impossible, but, like, I am so excited about the prospect of reading a book about Vanderpump Rules. Like, that means so much to me.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, first of all, and I hope everyone watching does too. But but I think it's gonna be, it's about 300 pages,
Yeah.
so you could easily get it done, even if you are someone who hasn't read a book since you were assigned time to read a book. We didn't write this in a, like, complicated, flowery
Right.
language. We made sure it looks really good, it's easy, you could pick it up and the chapters are relatively short. Like, it is something that I hope people have fun reading.
'Cause
That's
it's fun.
that's what was important to me.
Yes, and you can't write a book about Vanderpump Rules and make it too complicated because it's Vanderpump Rules. Was there a moment while writing this book that maybe you or Kate, like, discovered something or stumbled upon a story within a story, and you thought, "Why is nobody talking about this?" Or, "Why aren't more people talking about this thing that happened?"
Yeah, there's one that has a bit of an arc throughout the book that I'll just say I look forward to people seeing it. But another one that I do feel comfortable talking
Okay.
about right now is just and people do talk about this. They haven't talked about it as much lately, but, like, when Jax and Brittany actually met and how their story of meeting versus how they told everyone they met
Yeah.
through other people. Like, there's specifically a talking head on Vanderpump Rules where Katie explains how Jax and Brittany met, and that doesn't quite line up to um, what we see when we dig through Twitter. Because remember when you used to be able to link your Twitter account to your Instagram account?
Mhm.
Well, if you deleted the Instagram photo, the Twitter post stayed. And some people, Brittany Cartwright, didn't necessarily go back and delete the tweet, but
Ah.
she did delete the Instagram post.
Do we have receipts of the tweet in the
Oh,
book?
we have receipts. We
Oh,
were required
oh,
to do official receipt. You'll flip to the back of that book and you'll be like, "Oh my god," looking at the receipts.
oh, I love that because I love a good receipt, okay? I'm
Mhm.
excited about that. I now, again, this is me, I've not read the book, you guys. The thing that I am and I see some people online talking about this, but I wish more people because we got a lot of new Vanderpump fans after Scandal,
Mhm.
and a lot of them did not go back to day 1, episode 1, or I should say, what, season 2? When did Ariana come in? Season 2?
Ariana was season 2, yeah.
Yeah, so my thing and this is not hating on Ariana at all, I enjoy her, but again, when you're objective about people, you can admit when somebody is right or wrong. For most of
Mhm.
VPR, I would say probably up until we get to Scandival, Ariana isn't really like this hero
No.
that we know her to be right now, and I am often flabbergasted by how many people have rewritten history to make her seem like she was always like the darling and like the voice of reason and this amazing angel on the show. And I'm like, no, she was actually very unpleasant in the beginning. She got to a point where she was tolerable, but she's never been like the nice girl on
And I
Vanderpump
think
Rules.
a and I think a lot of people are afraid to admit that they really liked Sandoval for a very long time
Yes.
too.
Yep.
Sandoval was very popular.
Yep.
You don't see a lot of posts like that or people owning up to that anymore. And the thing is that the whole show's about people that are weird, right?
Mhm.
Like it's okay that Ariana like had some wasn't the hero the whole time. Or
Right.
that Katie wasn't the hero the whole time. I'm
Yeah.
not watching PBS here. I'm watching Bravo, and that's also what's weird, and I hate to go, like, too, we call it Bravanon on it, but, like, I do think ever since we voted a, like, conservative president in, that just affects how people and I'm not saying the people that are saying these are conservative, I'm not going
Mhm,
that far,
mhm.
but I think when there's like such a wave of freaks out there that comes into how we consume media,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
it's weird to think because I've also seen these posts of people being like, I can't believe you all watch this show. Stassi is the meanest person I've ever seen. Does she ever get better? And it's like, no,
No, she
it's
doesn't.
fine. I'm not watching this for people to get better,
Right.
like, and
That's the
they might get better, but that's not why we're tuning in. We're
I
tuning
was
in for
gonna
the
say,
drama.
yes, that's not the requirement, nor is it the expectation, right? And like
There it is.
that sums up Vanderpump. I think it makes it different from like Housewives and stuff. Like obviously
Mhm.
on Housewives, we know we're tuning in for drama, but there's still an expectation for them to uphold some sort of like decency, which is why we react so viscerally when they don't. With Vanderpump, the expectation was always that they were going to be kind of shitty,
Yep.
wild, backstabbing each other, like, that was what we were watching it for because that's who we were when the show
Yes.
aired.
And to your point there, when we watch Housewives, whether or not, like, let's take age out of the equation,
Mhm.
like, the Housewives is portrayed as adults.
Yeah.
They are adults. Vanderpump Rules, Summer House, all of the, like, co-ed type shows, these are kids trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And of course, all the Toms, everyone's, like, in their 40s now.
Yeah.
But millennials on these shows
Mhm.
and in real life were that generation that, like, were sold childhood
Yep.
and never really got to be adults.
Yeah.
So even in the marketing and how these things go out, it's like we're just watching children. They might be 45-year-old
Yeah.
children, but we're watching children.
Yes, because I remember the joke was, like, how much older Jax was
Yeah,
from everybody else on the cast,
exactly.
and, like,
Yeah,
yeah, but now we're at a time and it's so funny because I still look at them like that even though everyone's, like, in their 40s now,
yeah.
but it's like the housewives, we still look at them as, like, the adults, the responsible people, and then this year was the first year Rhode Island came out, and I'm like, "Wow, this is the first time ever that I'm actually older than one of the housewives."
it's
That's
scary
weird.
to think about, you
That's
know?
weird. I don't
Yeah.
like that feeling. That's why I won't watch Rhode Island.
And it's like with the new cast of Vanderpump Rules, which we only barely like there's gonna have to be an extended version of this
Yeah, I
book
was gonna
because
ask
even
about them. Mhm.
yeah, even the main cast, so much more information has come out since we wrote this book, right? That we could have an extended edition. But
Yeah.
the main I love the new season, the new
Mhm.
cast of Vanderpump Rules for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all young, and I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I can relive what it was like to be a hustling like server and model and singer and all of
Yeah.
these things because they're not influencers yet, and they're real deal. I'll tell you that. I've been to a couple events where I've stumbled into having a conversation with a couple of them, and they're great.
Yeah.
But man, even with no cameras, drama happens.
And as it should in your 20s. That was the thing. I think we
Yes.
talked about this when I had you on because I had you on last to talk about the new cast of
Yes.
Vanderpump, and then I had Kim Suarez on the queue. We were chatting it up, but it's like that is what life is supposed to be like in your 20s. And you kind of touched on like the kind of conservative wave and like everybody wants to be puritanical and we all need to
Mhm.
be upstanding citizens. You should not be that in your 20s. That is the
No,
time to like fuck up and be crazy and bad and wild.
I do not need to watch Love Island and hear people say the word lustful at all. You're on Love Island.
Okay, and you're 24, you're
Yeah.
horny, and like, you're
Yes.
around the most, like, attractive people, like, that's a requirement to go on Love Island is you have to be, like, above average in attractiveness, like, yeah, of
Yes.
course you're lustful. Duh,
Yeah. Like, come on. What are we doing here?
duh. Okay, I got 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
Does it suck that after everything Vanderpump has given us that it's gonna mostly be remembered for Scandal Ball?
Yes. Um, but I'm glad it has something that you can like, how do we get to this? You
Right.
know, it didn't just kind of fade away.
Mhm.
It has this point where you can be like, "Oh, that's what ended this show
Yeah.
because of this." And it's so wrapped with mystery that we're never going to know all of
Mhm.
the details of. And we try and do our best, but we in the book, but like there's just some stuff. Why did Tom go on Howie Mandel's podcast and say that him and Ariana were actually secretly broken up and that this was all for show? Why did Ariana take Tom's phone and then go to the bathroom in private and look at it? Like, why, if the, we will not know.
Yeah.
Maybe in 30 years they'll do a tell all and we'll all get the information we need, but it's interesting and I'm glad it's there. But there's so much more that's so much more exciting and funny about this show than Scandival.
Yeah.
But at least we have Scandival.
I agree with you. When I think about it like that, that's a great point to make. We can point to something and say everything that we got and it ended here and
Hmm.
then that's kind of it. I like that. Now, I'm going to ask you to predict the future.
Okay.
Okay. 20 years from now, what do you think pop culture media historians are going to say that Vanderpump Rules changed, if anything?
Oh, 20 years. I think they're going to be able to look at how detrimental it can be to allow a fandom to get that close to you.
Oh.
I think there has to be a wall. There has to be a facade and a real one, right?
Mhm.
Because essentially, if someone like Lala goes on our podcast and is like, "Oh, well, we just made up that whole argument anyway for the show in season 8 because we needed a good ending." You go, "Well, you just like devalued the trust that any of your audience had for you, and now they can never trust you again. And now you don't know what that means going forward if someone stops you on the street, right?" Like, I don't
Mhm.
think they're going to like attack them or anything, but you've created this falsity where you can't be trusted as a person,
Yeah.
and like you just don't know what that means to the people that were your fans. And if people as a fandom kind of like keep this at arm's length and realize that these people are going to make an entertaining show and there's like some sort of agreement that we all kind of like enter into, it- I think that shows like the hard lines and the hard rules that we are going to be seeing implicated on shows going forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do. Like I said at the top, you cannot talk about reality TV now without talking about social media and
Mhm.
how it affects, I mean, how reality TV affects audiences, but also how social media affects reality TV because
Yeah,
now everybody plays to the audience. And
yeah,
that's created an interesting viewing experience, you
yeah,
know? Yeah,
yeah.
it's all interesting, but I'm so excited about this book. Please tell my subscribers where they can find you and follow you, and then also where they can find and pre-order the book.
Yeah, I mean, Vanderpump Robs on all the social media platforms, so you can follow me there. VanderpumpRobs.com for all the podcasts. So bonus, ad-free video, all of that stuff. But you can also find it on your favorite podcatcher of choice, Vanderpump Robs. In the book, you can pre-order wherever you get books. But I have realitytvisthedevil.com, which will give you all the links to the major places like Barnes and Noble and Amazon. But here's the thing. I will tell people that if they pre-order the book, I say thank you. But if for whatever reason you don't have the funds, you can't do it right now, I ask you to go to your local public library and ask them to pre-order a copy of the book because that costs nothing and they know that there's someone in town that wants to read that book.
I'm going to do that. I'm actually a board member for the public library of my county, like my county's public library
Yeah,
system. So I, at our next board meeting, I'm gonna find out who I need to talk
thank
to
you.
and see if we can request the book in all of the libraries in my county.
I love that. And also, if you're a professor of pop culture studies, I'd love it to be one of your textbooks.
Heck yeah. Shoot. Have Ro Rob,
I'll
you should be a
I'll
guest
go anywhere.
professor. Yeah, or go speak to some classes,
I'm ready to do it. I
speak to the
if
kids.
you've stumbled onto this YouTube video, I will come to your school and talk.
Mhm. Mhm. And it would be great. You guys need to do that. Thank you guys so much for tuning into my chat with Vanderpump Robs. Make sure you guys go pre-order Reality TV is the Devil and don't you forget it. You can get that wherever you buy books from, Amazon, Target, Barnes& and Noble, you name it, you can pre-order it. And like he said, if you aren't able to pre-order it right now, just go request it at your local public library, which you should all one know where that is. And two, I hope you all have a library card, okay? Because reading is what? Fundamental. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.